You're watching Inside the Right. I'm joined by my co host, longtime Republican operative Tim Miller, who can give us a better understanding of what's happening on the right. So, Tim, Donald Trump came out during this latest town hall to counter program the Republican debate, and he made a pretty damning admission. Here's a clip of that.
Because for 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it. They wanted to get it back, right? You wouldn't have that. There would be no question. Nobody else was going to get that done but me.
Yeah.
And we did it, and we did something that was a miracle.
All right, Tim, you were in Republican politics for a long time. Help me understand, if you've got an issue like abortion, which is proven so bad for Republicans in election after election after election, why is Donald Trump essentially writing Democratic ads by saying this stuff out loud?
Yeah, he's struggling with this issue. He's always struggled with it. If you go all the way back to the first primary in 2016, one of the biggest gaffes he had was when Chris Matthews asked him about abortion, and he basically said that like women who have abortions should be able to be jailed.
Yeah.
And he was kind of like, "Oh, is that bad?" Because he's not even actually pro-life, right? So he always struggles with this, finding the right words, And so he has this woman in the town hall that clearly is very pro-life. Right. And is asking this question. And yet in his little political lizard brain, he knows that like he can't go so extreme to where Ron DeSantis is because he knows it's political loser, like you just said. So he ends up with this kind of rambly, garbled mess, right? Where he's like trying to make her like him because, that's really why he's in politics to begin with. He has his emptiness in his soul and he wants everyone to love him.
Yeah.
So he wants this random woman to like him, but he also knows that he doesn't want to say he's for a 5-week ban, right? And so he rambles for like minutes. That clip you showed is just part of the answer. And so he gives the Biden campaign as part of that long rambling answer this clip that you're definitely going to be seeing over and over again in ads, where he says clearly all of these bans that you like, he's talking to the woman, that only happened because of me, right? He can't help himself. I want to take credit. I was the reason that Roe v. Wade got overturned. And then part two is like, okay, so you, all of this stuff that you like that is politically toxic, right? Like the 5-week bans, that'll happen because of me. But then he pivots into, well, but I think we can try to find more of a middle ground, and DeSanctimonious went too far on it, right? So he's trying hard to have it both ways because he knows it's politically toxic, but yet just this desire to win over Republican primary voters, this desire to be loved, this desire to take credit for things. He can't, give that away. He ends up making this, I think, very serious mistake, even knowing the political risks of the mistake, as evidenced by the rest of his answer.
Well, there was this kind of breaking the fourth wall moment during that rambling diatribe where he basically says, if we want to win, if we want to get our guys in office, including me, we got to look like we're compromising. And that sounds like something that you say in private, like when you're strategizing, but saying it in public, doesn't that just undermine the entire stunt? It
does, and I know he says it for private. I've actually had consultants, that I've been interviewing for my books and stuff that have shared that. Like, this is his view, right, in private, right? But it kind of he blurted it out, right? Like, this is the classic, what they call Kinsley gaffe in politics, where you say something that you believe, but that you don't say out loud in front of people, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it was a big mistake for him. I think that the one thing he thinks he has going for him, I'm not saying I think this is going to work, but the one thing that he thinks he has going for him, which is why he's doing this, is that he's trying to do the old triangulation, right? Like, I can say this and make some voters not be as scared of me as they are of DeSantis, because I'm acknowledging that I know that some people in my party on the right are extreme. Maybe that'll help me with the Barstool Bros, with like kind of that kind of crowd, the not as partisan Republican leaning type voters, who aren't as religious. But man, the clips and the short quotes, I think he's really harmed himself, in his effort to try to play it both ways on this one.
Right, to try to like split the baby here. But
Yeah,
Tim, like,
baby, yeah.
should if he's basically saying, look, get us in office, like we have to moderate our positions just to get in office, and then we'll take care of you. Shouldn't those pro-choice moderates out there recognize that he's just looking to con them?
I think so, and I think this is also where Mike Johnson in the Speaker's house, in the speakership, plays a big part of this. That Democrats and people that are talking to your friends should use this as a talking point. Like, no matter whether you trust Trump is trying to to base this on the fact that like people do not peg him as a religious zealot,
Right.
right? And he can say, "Oh, I'll get in there and we'll do what we're going to do." The problem is, once he
Are,
gets
are
in
you
there,
are
it's not
you are
just
you
Trump.
are you suggesting that Donald Trump, the ardent follower of 2 Corinthians, is not
Yeah,
not a big
I
religion
know,
guy?
I know. Breaking news here. But I think the thing is that if he was to get in there, we know who the Republican Speaker of the House will be, Mike Johnson, who is a religious zealot, absolutely extreme, who wants to ban abortion altogether, not even 5 weeks, 0 weeks, right? And so I think that that is the message to pro-choice moderate voters, to swing voters, to your Obama Trump type voters that maybe are culturally conservative on some issues, but not on abortion, right? I think the message to them is, look, if he gets back in there, these crazy right wingers, the ones you don't like, the Ted Cruz's, the Mike Johnsons, they're going to be in charge of this policy and they're going to push it through. And I think that threatens abortion rights in blue states, right? Because right now, abortion rights have been curtailed significantly in red states, but they haven't in blue and purple states. Trump getting back in there, I think, means that abortion rights are at risk in these key swing states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, right? States with Democratic governors, Wisconsin. And so I do think that will be a useful message for Democrats to a key demographic this fall.
And by the way, before we move forward with more of this episode, for anybody watching right now who wants to see more of Tim, please make sure to sign up and subscribe for the Bulwark. It's the YouTube channel that Tim is on throughout the week. So I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. Again, it's the best way to support Tim and the work that he does. There is a lot of footage of Trump admitting his actual position on this issue, of him like taking full responsibility for Dobbs. Do you think that his efforts to rewrite history are going to be successful, or do you think that people have just smartened up on this issue in particular?
I don't think that they're going to be successful as he hopes they're going to be, right? And I think that there's a lot of evidence for that in the midterms. But Trump wasn't on the ballot. I do think it's incumbent upon Democrats, upon former Republican types, moderate Republicans that don't want Donald Trump to be in there, upon anybody that doesn't want Donald Trump to be in office, to really carry this message about the implications of Trump
Yeah.
with regards to abortion throughout the general. Because I do think that there's a category of person that even if you show them the clips, they're just like, he's just saying that, he's got to say that. You hear this in focus groups, and so the stakes of him getting in and having full Republican control and the types of people that would be appointed to this administration, which we talked about in other videos. I think that, is going to be a big area of combat over the next few months, just making sure that sinks in with folks. But I do think that there's already some folks he's lost on this.
Tim, don't those Republican primary voters recognize that they would be better off strategically tacking left on this issue? Like don't they recognize the things that Trump is trying to like hint, nudge, nudge them on? Like that they would be better off tacking left on this issue so their candidate can win in a general election. Like, can you speak on this no compromise mentality that's kind of pervaded that party?
Yeah, there are a couple things at play. One is, while the Republican base has gotten very nihilistic on a lot of issues, abortion is something that is just kind of in the tap water of Republican politics, right? That like we need to protect these babies. And I think part of that is psychological, right? There are all these issues where Republicans are not on the moral high ground, to say the least, right? But it's like, here's one where they feel like they can take the moral high ground.
Yeah.
And then I think there's your religious parts of the base that feel this genuinely, right? And so, whereas it's easy for Trump to kind of get Republicans to change their views when convenient on
Or
things
because he
like
doesn't
Social
actually
Security,
have
right?
any.
He doesn't actually have any
Yeah.
views, and they don't really care. Like it turns out, Republican politicians used to think that Republican voters really cared about Social Security reform, but privatization. And it turns out Republican voters actually don't care about all that much. Like
Yeah.
they mostly care about owning the libs. But this is one thing they actually do care about, and so that's why Trump is kind of unable to do what he wants, which is just to kind of throw it. If he had his druthers, he just throw this issue out because he just wants to win more than anything. But he realizes that he could lose, a certain percentage of the earnest Mike Pence base, evangelical Republicans, if he, went totally pro-choice on this. So I think that like that is this is a unique case where Republicans' earnest beliefs and their desire to want to have this moral righteousness is hindering their political pivot.
it's probably driving Trump crazy because, like you were saying, he
Oh,
doesn't
for
actually
sure.
stand for, like, he doesn't have any
For
values, like any
sure.
steadfast values on everything. So he's probably just thinking like, what the fuck? Like just pretend. Just who cares? Like he doesn't stand for. He just
Right.
wants power. And so he's like, why are these people like staking their? Why are they dying on this hill? Who cares about anything? You know?
Absolutely. I literally, like I said, I've spoken to a friend of mine who was a consultant back in 2016 who was like Trump was doing exactly what you're doing right there, ranting on a plane, from one campaign to event to another. Like, why do I have to do this?
Right.
This is before Roe, right? And like the stakes are way higher now, both obviously for the women that need, want to have a choice, but the political stakes are also way higher.
Yeah, it's just so funny to me that like he has to come up against like people like the notion of values and doesn't know how to
Right.
navigate that.
Right. That is funny.
Can you talk about like this counter programming to the Republican primary debate happened on Fox News? For a long time, it looked like Fox wasn't going to lay hands on Trump anymore, and yet and like that Ron DeSantis was their guy. I think they kind of got a sense of the fact that Ron DeSantis is super weird and can't smile and sounds like off-putting to people. And like now he's doing programming, counter programming with Fox News to a CNN debate. Can you speak on this idea of like is Fox back on the Trump train?
Yeah, they are, and I think this was the most significant thing last night. I wrote about it from at the Bulwark if people want to go check that out.
And I'll
Because
put the link
yeah,
to that article right here on the screen and in the post description of this video as well.
thanks. And the abortion thing. It's funny that he stumbled into this because it was a softball, kind of, right? Like Fox was not asking him hard questions. If you
Yeah.
watched the full hour last night, um, most of the questioners from the town hall were Trump supporters. There were a couple DeSantis supporters, but most of them were Trump supporters. Even some like Trump sycophants. There was a precinct captain, and so like this was not hard hitting questioning. And then Brett and Martha, who are ostensibly the more hard news reporters on the Fox side, wink, wink. They were kind of joshing around with him and giggling. He made a couple jokes at Chris Christie's expense and they were laughing. They asked a couple of kind of pointed questions about his recent rhetoric, around how it'd be bedlam, and whether he was encouraging political violence. They asked a couple of kind of pointed questions, but they did not, but then he would lie and just do his word salad kind of game, dismissing things. And then there was no follow up, right? This was not
Right.
a tough interview. It was a 1 hour softball infomercial with like some belly rubbing. Like it was so nice at some
Yeah.
points. And it was aired at the same time as the Haley DeSantis thing. This was not an accident, right? The Trump people wanted that. Like the Trump people wanted to block out the sun and make sure that neither Haley nor DeSantis could get any oxygen in the last week before Iowa. And Fox went along with this. I mean, so this is practically like Fox being part of the Trump team
Yeah.
doing this thing, right? I mean, like it's pretty indistinguishable from running a 1 hour advertisement for him, with a handful of like modestly hard questions. And I think the moment at which Fox just kind of accepted that Trump is going to be the nominee and that they're stuck with him again, because I know that maybe some of these viewers will think, oh, Fox has always been a hack for Trump, but like in after the January 6th, for a short period, right, through the Dominion lawsuit, you can see this in the text of the Dominion lawsuit. A lot of the Fox people were sick of Trump. Tucker Carlson even said it. Rupert Murdoch said it. Like they're ready to move on. When DeSantis announces, or even before he announces, after the midterms, Fox is doing all these gauzy. Do you remember the one with DeSantis where they're like throwing the baseball? It's
Yeah.
like him and
Yeah.
the Fox and Friends guys are out having a catch.
Yeah. I think it was like
There's a lot
Was
of
it Kilmeade?
Kilmeade, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they have a lot of this very soft, Today Show type treatment of DeSantis. No offense, Savannah. And like they were trying to puff him up, and Trump wasn't on their air for a while. Like and Trump was complaining about that. He'd bleed about it on his social media that Fox wasn't having him on anymore. And so, since then Tucker gets fired, and I think Trump goes up in the polls, and Fox kind of, I guess, realizes that, if they're not going to have integrity, if they want to keep the ratings up, they're going to be stuck with this guy again. And so I think that town hall this week before Iowa, and the way and the nature and the way that they did it, just demonstrates that like Fox sees the writing on the wall, and they're back all in with Trump, despite the fact that he cost them $787 million
Yeah.
for going along with his lies about the election.
But this isn't the first instance of like the tail wagging the dog. I mean, this is
No.
Fox. Fox basically follows. Fox doesn't like lead the news. They basically respond to what their viewers are telling them they want. That's why this whole the whole election theft saga happened in the first place, is because like they recognize like, okay, they can tell the truth, or they can just act in response to what their viewers want, which was to believe that Donald Trump won the election even though he'd lost, and they opted for the latter.
Yeah, and this is all over the emails, right, from the Dominion lawsuit. If you read all that, like their internal, they betray that internally. They didn't want to go along with it. They're ready to move on from Trump. They'd gotten what they wanted out of him. He'd been president. They had good ratings. They got their tax cut, and they were ready to move on to a more quote unquote normal type Republican. And then all of a sudden, Trump is doing the stop the steal stuff. Newsmax's ratings are spiking.
Right.
Newsmax passes them in a couple of hours. Not over the whole day, but a couple of moments. They actually get passed by Newsmax during this period. And yeah, they recognize that no, they have to submit, and they don't actually own their audience. Their audience owns them.
Yeah, and I guess nothing looks like it's going to change here. So with that said, we will leave it there. Again, to support Tim, make sure to subscribe to The Bulwark. It's the YouTube channel that Tim is on throughout the week. I'll put the link again here on the screen and in the post description of this video. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
I'm Tim Miller.
This is Inside the Right.